Looks like HoYoverse is being even more predatory and greedier than they have ever been. There's currently a contract that has been leaked going around for creators and collaboration with Zenless Zone Zero, and there is a clause in here that does not make any sense whatsoever. So I've done a couple of ads, I've done a couple of different things with developers, not too many long-term stuff, but there's a couple of things in here that are pretty standard. So obviously interact with socials, post XYZ videos, so on and so forth. So obviously that is pretty standard, but there's a clause in here that makes me scratch my head that, what is this, bro? So reading this from the actual leaked document here, it has full discretion to reject sponsorships that could be detrimental to Zenless Zone Zero or content creators' reputation. I've never seen a company say that they can determine who you can be sponsored with and how that works. Even in HoYoverse's other long-term contracts, I've never seen anything like that, right? So it seems kind of wild that they think that they can do that, because what is detrimental to Zenless Zone Zero? Competitors? We're not talking about some random, real political stuff or whatever that all of a sudden makes Zenless Zone Zero look bad. We're probably talking about competitors, right? Because that would probably make Zenless Zone Zero not look so great if their, creators are taking sponsorships from like Hero or something like that, and they're, talking good and talking all this different stuff with Hero, which we have seen with CBT2. So obviously Hero sniped some of the different HoYoverse creators, and they had free will to basically talk the way they wanted to, and they were able to be sponsored, right? So they had sponsored videos, sponsored streams, they had giveaways, all that kind of stuff. And I think Hoyo got pissed. They're like, no, I don't want you to take my creators and kind of give them other opportunities. So then they kind of look elsewhere. We want to be the sugar daddy of the gacha space, and you're taking my stuff, you're taking my kids. Like, that's basically the way that HoYoverse is acting. And so they're trying to put this stuff in clauses. So I don't know if this is going to be injected into other HoYoverse stuff. I imagine people who have already signed long-term contracts obviously are not going to be under this because they already have their own terms and conditions. It definitely looks like this is more trying to snipe some of the newer creators, if people that have not signed contracts with Hoyo before. And honestly, what ends up happening is they catch people who aren't as business savvy, and they're just not paying attention fully to a document that they're signing, because all they see is dollar signs, because HoYoverse is like, here, money. And then everybody's like, my final big break. I finally got to a point. And I think this is really going to target the people that are teeter-tottering on being full-time content creators, if not, basically trying to secure money for their friends, family, whatever, or themselves in the lifestyle. And they're kind of being presented money on a routine basis. And they're like, damn, I got to sign this. And so they kind of skim through this different stuff. And then all of a sudden this is in there, and they don't realize it, and they sign it, and now they're screwed. And even though they got lucrative money, it's like, how much money could you have made if you would have went with Hero or something like that? Or what if you end up not liking Zenless Zone Zero? Now you have to wait until your contract's up or whatever, it ends up being kind of a muddy water. And I recommend anybody who's a creator to take a look at every contract. And if you don't understand it, ask somebody else. Even if it comes to a point where you have to ask like a lawyer or something like that, get a free consultation. I don't know, bro. Like, get somebody to look at this stuff and kind of understand what's going on in these contracts, because they try to sneak stuff in this, and you end up having to get stuck in dealing with this stuff. So money signs, great. I mean, get your bag and all that stuff, but make sure you're getting your bag and also getting bags from other people, right? Because to be able to put a chokehold and put monopoly on a creator to be able to not have sponsorships from other games is insane. And not only from a creator standpoint, from a viewer standpoint as well. Imagine HoYoverse being able to kind of tell people what to do and what to play, and being able to kind of control the marketing in that space, right? Because believe it or not, and you can hate HoYoverse and you can hate Genshin and all that different stuff, but they have a lot of people. They have a lot of influence. A lot of creators have a lot of, marketability. And obviously some of these games like Hero is going to try to snipe them to basically try to get them to promote their game. Like it or not, HoYoverse is massive. They have a lot of fans. They have a lot of push and pull and stuff like that. A lot of those creators are well known. And so it's a marketing strategy. And if every game that ever comes up and every developer can no longer have that avenue for HoYoverse, it is going to be kind of hard to market. Now, could they still do it? Of course, they could do YouTube ads, Twitter ads, all that different stuff. But there's a lot of people who like to watch certain creators that play games, and obviously are looking to find those games through those creators. And if they're all of a sudden off the market, it makes it very hard for these games that are up and coming to have a chance to basically be able to do that. The other thing is, it just kind of screws, content creators in general. Now they don't have as much space. They're not going to want to talk about stuff as much. Maybe they don't put as much time into it, because obviously in this clause, it doesn't necessarily say that you can't play those games. Obviously it doesn't say like, hey, you can't play those games at all or make content creation on those at all. So obviously you could do it in your own discretion, but you could not take sponsorship. So if Kiro finally came out and like, you know what, you make really good videos, Zach, here's, whatever X amount of money to do it. I'm like, can't take it. I got a Zenless Zone Zero contract. I can't take that. I'm like, oh, well, I guess then either play our game for free or get screwed, basically. And then you're like, well, that sucks, because I just passed up, like, just say metaphorically, like 10, 20 grand or something. And now, now it just burns a little bit. Now I just kind of upset about the game or something like that, because I could have done that if I hadn't signed this contract. So I'd really think that this is just a way for MoHoYo to try to chokehold creators. And if business savvy creators or something like that, or people who don't necessarily have a team to look at these different documents and stuff, I just think this is super predatory and just not, it's just so stupid that they're setting these dumb standards that people think that are just normal stuff. It ends up being such a bad, poor thing for gacha overall. And I really hope that people start catching on to this and they're like, no, I really hope creators don't sign this stuff. Zenless Zone Zero, nothing against it. I really think it's a fun game. But if I was ever presented with a contract like this, even if it could pull me into full-time content creation, I would not sign this stuff. I feel like in terms of like futurability and just the way that terms and past could end up working, I just think it's so hard to lock yourself in. So obviously we don't know how long this contract would be, but I just think it's just such a scummy and kind of really shitty thing to do. Honestly, that's just kind of my take on it. I really think that they just didn't like Hero jumping into their pockets and sniping some of the creators, and they really just don't want to give up any market value. Basically, they don't want to pay like any shares, like they don't want to give up the shares, bro. So they're willing to do whatever they could do, whether it's scummy or not, to get creators and, you know, eventually their viewers and stuff like that to not join any other games, which I just think is insane. Be happy and be kind of like prideful of your product and don't have to do these scummy things, so your creators will want to stay and your viewers and your players and all that stuff will want to play the game. You don't have to resort to this stuff unless you have shit games. Like, no offense, but if you have stuff that's lackluster, then obviously you have to do stuff like this to get ahead or stay ahead. Now, you know, that's a whole different discussion. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Peace.